$1 billion was spent, but nobody should be surprised. It's 4 years with what I call this the COVID CBA. So the cap hadn't gone up. Cap's up. There was a thaw. And boy, there was some money burning in the pockets of NHL teams.
There definitely was. Jeff Jackson was busy yesterday. He did not have a ton of cap space to work with compared to some of the other teams out there. But boy, he did a lot with what he did have. What move either surprised you the most or impressed you the most that Jackson was able to pull off yesterday, Craig?
Yeah, I'll be straightforward. Nothing surprised me. I mean, he tried to fortify the depth on the blue line. I mean, so we'll stay away from that. He didn't need to do anything there. But, you add Skinner, you add Arvidsson, and you saw how good Henrique could be for the Edmonton Oilers. While, Henrique comes back, you get Skinner, obviously off the buyout, so you're going to get a situation where you get what I would call a discount.
Yeah.
Now, Arvidsson, I mean, some scoring up. We talked about the deadline, trying to get a scoring winger. Well, they got 2 scoring wingers now, and that takes the burden off of players named Leon and Connor and Zach and Ryan, and that makes it a good team that much deeper.
Craig, I just want to get your thoughts, too, on this list of players, both kind of, returning. The Arvidssons, obviously, Josh Brown's going out and getting, but specifically, and I think the fan base, the Janmark, the Browns, and the Henriques. And how encouraging is it for the psyche of not only this fan base, but the players on this roster right now, that you see a guy like Henrique last night, agreeing to come back, taking that bit of a pay haircut, and according to Dreger, who we had on earlier, getting phone calls from a Cooper down in Tampa. So just your thoughts, not so much just on the names and the signings and some of the players brought back, but guys, as we said prior to free agency, perhaps looking at this project unfinished and willing to sacrifice a bit of their own for the group. That's got to be a hell of a psychological boost for this club entering this shortened offseason and into next season.
Well, when you're trying to evaluate, I mean, Adam Henrique's a winner. I mean, he won 2 Memorial Cups. He's been to the Stanley Cup final a couple of times. He wants to win. And so when you look at it, you go, what's it going to take for me to win? I use this line all the time. If it was easy to win, everybody would do it. There's a price to be paid if you win. So, yeah, for Adam Henrique, he looks at it and goes, I could go there, maybe I could get a little more money. But he wants to win. Connor Brown and Janmark, I mean, you look at where they're at. I mean, I think Janmark had a very realistic viewpoint on where he was at. He goes, why am I going to leave here? Like, you know what, I'm going to go leave somewhere else. And obviously, when you have good players, and I'm going to get into my rant here in a minute, so I hope you get ready for this, right? Skinner comes to Edmonton. You got Arvidsson coming to Edmonton. But all I hear about is how players are not going to come to Canada. Nobody's going to come to Edmonton. The cold winters, and everybody wants to leave Canada. You know what? If you want to win and you don't want to play with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, then you don't want to win. It's as simple as that.
Boom. Love it. I love what you're saying. Now, they bring in Skinner and Arvidsson. They bring back the Janmark, Henrique, and Brown, the line that was great in the playoffs. I think Evander Kane's still kicking around. Dylan Holloway popped a little bit in the playoffs. They got a ton of options now with this forward group. I think a lot of it sort of just slots Skinner and Arvidsson in with Leon Draisaitl. But I just want to ask you quickly, which one of those 2 players do you think is a better fit with Leon? Skinner in that goal scoring, or Arvidsson, who's a little tenacious at times on the wing?
Well, when you think about Leon, think about how the way Leon plays. Leon, obviously he's a left shot center. But when I start to look at Leon, he doesn't just limit himself to just looking to his right, to a right winger. Leon, a lot of times, is coming down the right side. So he opens up the ice for himself. Jeff Skinner is a really smart goal scorer. He knows how to get open. Think about the Fogle goal in Game 6. Just think about how Leon comes down and then just saucers it over on that other side. He'll get the puck to the right side, and Arvidsson's hungry and drives the net. Skinner is dangerous, and when he gets open, it's at the right times. It's going to open up a lot of ice for Leon Draisaitl. I'm going to say it right here. Leon will score 50 again next year. 50.
Love it. Yeah, the predictions flying in today. It's like when I predicted them to win the cup the day after they lost the cup. I'm feeling so good about that prediction right now because of what they were able to do yesterday. Now they are 2.5 million over the cap right now, and they still have to get Broberg and Holloway done. And neither of those guys have arb rights, so they get squeezed a little bit here, I would think, Craig. But what do you think the path is to getting under the cap for them? Is it McLeod? Is it Ceci? Is it Kane if they can make something work? What do you think happens?
Yeah, I think a couple of things is that number one, we'll wait to see what the situation is with Evander Kane. I mean, it was a serious injury, and full marks for him trying to find a way to play through that injury. But when you sign players and now you look at a cap, there's going to be some players that are going to have to exit. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I think when you name, Broberg really showed that he can take on a significant role with the Edmonton Oilers. So that's a positive. Holloway showed he can play. I hate to point at certain players, but you named them. Ryan McLeod, I would think that Ryan McLeod is on the outside looking in. And Cody Ceci has a year left on his contract. See where it goes. I would think that there might be a team that would be interested, but you don't want to leave yourself thin on the blue line. You don't want as much as people, and when I say people, criticism that Cody Ceci gets. He's an NHL defenseman. Is he a perfect NHL defenseman? No. So you got to be careful with what you're doing. So I think looking at options, Jeff Jackson, since he became the president of hockey for the Edmonton Oilers, has been decisive. Chris Knobloch, you're in. And, making supporting the moves that were needed at the deadline. Now buying out Jack Campbell, getting ready. I mean, we talked about priority number one for the Edmonton Oilers is hiring a GM. And the reason we said that yesterday was because of Leon Draisaitl, trying to get, Leon wants to know who the GM is going to be and whatnot. It doesn't prohibit you from going out and signing players. Decisive yesterday. Who are we going to get? What are we trying to get? And, you get Janmark, you get Brown, you get Henrique, you get Skinner, you get Arvidsson. That's a pretty darn good day for the Edmonton Oilers. But Jeff has lots of knowledge. And Jeff has worked with all 32 NHL teams as an agent, a longtime agent. He knows what's going on out there. And to me, he was really decisive. He'll be no less decisive in the next moves he makes, because that's Jeff's MO.
Craig, the talk is about the forward group and the action and the signings that were made yesterday, but I did want to get your thoughts on the blue line a bit as well. And Jackson being quoted yesterday saying we're looking to add depth, and I know you're mentioning CC there. Maybe he does stay another year, but the addition of Josh Brown, the exit of Vincent Desharnais, Stetcher, when he was brought in at the deadline, wasn't 100% ever, so you look at an offseason of him. Is it just a question now of maybe not replacing or looking at CC replacing, but just adding depth from below and a Josh Brown for Vincent, and then these guys like Cam Dineen, the Gleasons, and everybody just providing some depth from below? Because it was pretty last year. I mean, they were actually pretty fortunate in health, specifically on that blue line. So just your thoughts there on Josh Brown in, Desharnais out, and then the look of this blue line as it stands today.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you start to consider, and let's just look at the top five, and that's I have Broberg with Nurse, obviously 14 and 2 together, and then Kulak.
Yeah.
So CC fought, if they do move CC out, can you move Brown and Stetcher in and out of the lineup? They become your 6-7 defensemen. The reality of the salary cap is that at times, as you try to bolster one area, you're going to leave yourself. Maybe not with an ideal player in another area of the lineup, but that's why you try to go and get depth. Chris Knobloch has shown that he can maneuver players in and out of the lineup, and Stetcher's different than Josh Brown. So depending on what you're doing, you can manage those players. And certainly, I think the experience that both those players have and how you use them is the key. Ken Hitchcock always said, when you get players scaled up the lineup, that's when you run into problems. Chris Knobloch has shown that, with a good lineup, I don't have to worry about scaling players up the lineup where they get outside their capabilities.
Craig, last one for you before we let you go. Who else won the day yesterday? What else stood out to you yesterday around the league?
Well, I mean, how can you not be impressed with what Nashville did? And you look at the margins, and Ray Ferraro and I were talking about this during the final, and he said, listen, Nashville could have beat Vancouver. Vancouver could have beat Edmonton. Dallas could have beat Edmonton, right? Like, and what I'm talking about is how tight the Western Conference is. It's good. So you got to work to continue to improve. I thought the Nashville Predators did significant work. I thought the Toronto Maple Leafs, Brad Treliving went out and said, this is what I got to go and do. And when you consider, and Toronto's different. I thought Boston, adding Zadorov and Lindholm really bolstered their lineup. You start to look, Seattle got better. Seattle got better in the Western Conference. They won a round a couple of years ago. But and then Edmonton. I mean, I don't know how you cannot be impressed with what Edmonton did. And certainly coming off of a Game 7 Stanley Cup final loss, there's every reason to believe that this team can do what Florida did after losing in the final, come right back and compete again for the Cup.
Craig, we appreciate all the visits throughout the hockey season, man. And I'd say we'll talk to you again in September, but I'll see you for the Holinka Gretzky tournament in just over a month.
It's going to be fun, Dustin. But what's really fun, and I really enjoy it with you and Eric, is your passion for the Oilers, your passion for Edmonton sports is unparalleled in Edmonton. And for me to be part of your show every week is a really, truly a joy, a pleasure, and quite frankly, an honor. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Craig.
you, Craig. I'll see you in a little bit, man.